everyone. My name is Bomi Park. I'm the project manager at the St. Louis Mosaic Project and the World Trade Center St. Louis. For those of you who are not familiar with Mosaic, we are part of the World Trade Center St. Louis, and we sit under the umbrella of the St. Louis Economic Development Partnership. So what we do is really to drive economic prosperity to St. Louis region by attracting and retaining foreign-born people to the St. Louis community. So we have been holding this St. Louis 101 event that came out of a Mosaic Ambassador brainstorm session. We wanted to have something that we can feature businesses, organizations, individuals who are driving St. Louis to be the best. Best of the best. So we have been inviting people to speak on behalf of organizations, initiatives, and we were really aiming to help people meet each other. So foreign-born people who are new to the city, or even other newcomers who are new to the region, in the St. Louis natives, of course. So we wanted to connect them all together on a regular basis. We didn't want to provide just one time event type of networking event. So we have been holding this monthly, but now we are doing it bi-monthly, alternating with what we call Career Connect now. So if you are interested in getting a job or advancing in your career, so that's the Career Connect, what we focus on that event. So that'll be held in June next time. So today I have three amazing food related business owners. And of course, Mosaic, we are all about, immigrants and telling the stories of immigrants and their families, immigrants' children's stories. So I have invited Carol and Junior Lara, who just started this amazing churros business pop-up called El Papi Churro, and Kurt Bellin from Izumi, St. Louis, also a pop-up making Japanese sandwiches that we call them sando. It's a Japanese word for sandwiches. And I think you do a lot of conveni, what you call it. Is it convenience store food? Yes. Pretty much. So yeah, super, super cool. If you've ever watched YouTube about going to Japanese 7-Eleven, it's super cool. They have really variety of foods you would never find here at 7-Eleven in the States. So, and Olamide, who is the owner of a business called Wakava, and he's from Nigeria and making herbal drinks. And I found him at the Targo Farmers Market, which is one of my favorite events in St. Louis. So everybody, I'm going to start with asking you to just kind of introduce yourselves, your background. Carol and Junior, since you are a team here, why don't you go first?
Sure. Well, I'm Carol Lara.
Junior Lara.
And we're with El Papi Churro. We started this about April. Oh yeah, April 12th actually was our official start date. And we sell churros, and but not just churros. We put a twist on them, and we make them what we like to say is like fun churros. So we have churro boxes, and they have toppings and ice cream, and they're colorful and they're very fun. But yeah, that's what we do. And
in our background, I work for a local healthcare organization as a department manager. So all my experience has been mostly corporate experience, but I also volunteer at a local organization by the name of Balsa Foundation, and I'm the business director there. I help lead the learning series, ironically enough, for first-time entrepreneurs. So it's been interesting being on the other side when I help people prepare for a business pitch. Now we're talking through how do we make this creative, how do we make it fun, and then how do we pitch it to where people want to be a part of it.
Yeah, and my background, I'm a photographer, and I've been doing that full time since 2017. And another part of our background, my family's from Peru, and I was the only one born here in the States out of my siblings. And then
and I am from the Caribbean. I was actually born in Dominican Republic, grew up in New York, and then in 2003 we moved to St. Louis, and that's us.
Wow, great. And For maybe somebody who wouldn't know what churros is, like what is churro?
It's like a Latin American, it's like the Latin donut, but it's basically they're fried sticks of dough and they're covered in cinnamon and sugar.
Yeah, when you think of churros, that's kind of like the only thing that we kept as the classic churro. We know the cinnamon and the sugar. But as Carol said, our churros are more like fun boxes. So we have churro bites, and then we mix in there different ingredients, all of which, as Carol likes to say, are a kiss with 2 scoops of ice cream.
Sounds great. There's a good reason why we hold this on a lunchtime, so everybody just gets hungry.
Yeah.
And Kurt, what about you? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes. So my name's Kurt Bellin, and I am half Japanese. My mother is born in Japan. I was born in America. And I'm also quarter Italian as well, because my grandfather was the first of his family and his brothers and sisters to be born on the hill. So very much my whole life growing up, I've been very aware of just being an immigrant and what that means in America and how that shapes America. And so that being said, I do a pop-up called Izumi, and that specializes in Japanese kombini food that I wanted to have last year, stuck in America and not being able to visit Japan. So I really wanted to just bring something that I remember really enjoying when I visit Japan to St. Louis.
Great, great. Thank you. And Olamide, do you want to introduce a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Yeah, so my name is Olamide Adeboye. Yeah, I'm from Nigeria. And I have this business called Wakava. It's food and beverage. Wakava innovate African food for acceptance on the international forefront. And also, we really dedicated on food upcycling. I don't know if you guys know what upcycling is. The way of using a byproduct from food and you turn it into, you give it a new life. So we're very, very committed to that. And we are also very committed to biodiversity and using different type of crops, ingredients from different countries. And also we are very, very committed to the environment, which is very important thing. And yeah, so our base, what we do in Wakava is we're creating a new section of food. So the product, which I first of all created, which is the beverage as part of Wakava, is called Wakava Herbal Infused Cold Brew Tea. So we infuse the herbs and we cold brew it for like 26 hours to make this delicious beverage. So it's kind of like a tool. The processing is very complicated and is also more natural. So we don't use preservative in everything we do. And you can taste it, it's very clean. And that's our goal also. Yeah, so yeah, that's a little bit about Wakava.
Yeah. And I don't know if you already mentioned, you're from Nigeria, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, great. So I know you guys are all pretty relatively new to your business, starting your new business. I think Olamide has been the longest with Wakava. But Carol and Junior, what really motivated you to start the business during the pandemic?
Well, so my mother actually, she passed away in January, the beginning of January. And so we had a huge life change. My parents were living in Peru and my father was there. So I decided to go pick him up and tell him to come live with me. And he did. And we were talking one day. So this was at the end of January that he came to live with us. And we're driving around, looking at things and showing him, because he used to live here before. He had lived in Peru 20 years and then he came back basically. So he started looking at things like that he hasn't seen in so long. And I started telling him about this memory that I had from one time when we visited in 2019. My dad had sent us to go get some churros for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And from this very popular place in Peru. And we brought them back and they were really good and we were enjoying them. And we can talk about this more later, but like my parents have always been entrepreneurs. And so he mentioned it to me there. That's where he planted the seed. And he said, wouldn't this be awesome if you would just do this in St. Louis? You know, you had a little churro spot, you know? And then I thought about it, but like we didn't really discuss it or anything.
Right.
But I always like for the next couple of years, for the next few years, I would drive around where we lived in the city. And I would always kind of picture it, you know, and I would think, oh, I think it would do really well here, you know, really well here. And so when my dad was here and we're driving around and things, I brought it up to him and I said, you know, I still think about that you mentioned that, you know. And he said, oh, you have to do it. You have to do it, Carol. You have to do it. And so I love my dad. Like he's so inspiring to me and encouraging. And I brought it home to Junior, the idea. And I said, hey, remember this, you know, and we should do it. You know, we just went for it. We just jumped on it, went for it, started doing the research, ordered our equipment, and just we dived in just like that.
It sounds like you guys really jumped on the idea quickly, you know, if it's all the kind of time span of between January and April. Yeah. Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
In Korean, there is a saying, the beginning is the halfway there. It roughly translates into, so, you know, to start something, it takes so much planning, thinking, doubting, right? And then once you actually get it started, you're always like already halfway there. That's the saying. So you guys really jumped on this and then got it started very quickly. Good for you.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, Carol and I were our approach to things, to anything really, is very different. Mm-hmm. So I think that we kind of balance each other out because Carol is the more adventurous one. You know, as she said, she's been running her own photography business since 2017. And I'm more of like, you know, corporate experience. My entire career has been working for a company, even though I'm passionate about helping entrepreneurs succeed, which is why I do my volunteering. But Carol is kind of like that. Let's do it. It's now or never. And I'm more of like, well, let's see what the market says. Let's see what the data says. You know? So one of the reasons that I said let's just do it is because there's, as far as I know, there's nothing like it here in St. Louis, and we had such a fun experience going to Manolo's, which is the name of the churro place in Peru, and there was a line out the door, and that place was the place was so busy. And I was like, well, this is really cool. You know, like that experience is really cool. I'm like, we can absolutely do that here, you know, and as crazy as this may sound, what better time than now, you know, as we're recovering from a pandemic for us to try different ideas, you know, like I'm sure we'll get to this, but like what next step looks like to us. We have several choices and we're just playing with this idea and having fun with it.
Yeah, great. I know you guys did like a pre-sale. In advance, you know, you ordered in advance, and I saw your chart going like so high with lots of orders. So that's great.
The first time. Oh, sorry.
I'll come back to you, Junior.
All right.
Kurt, what about you? What motivated you to start the business?
Well, it's just kind of been a long time passion of mine, Japanese food, and definitely in St. Louis, and working in the restaurant industry for 15 years now, I've been very aware of the lack of authentic Japanese food options. Like there's really great sushi. Like, I mean, there's awesome places, like there's a dozen great places to get sushi, but past sushi and now even ramen, past that, there's just not a lot of good examples of Japanese food. So, I mean, for the past like at least 10 years, I've been thinking about like, oh, I really want to start this sort of Japanese concept. And that's evolved in a lot of different ways. And, I've worked at different really great restaurants, and I was at Chow Ban last year. And what that taught me was just focusing on the more authentic flavors to help celebrate, one's heritage and, food that their family had is, it could sound kind of crazy to bring that to the St. Louis market because, some people could poo-poo St. Louis and like, oh, it's Midwest, they just like, pizza and barbecue and big bowls of pasta. But there's a lot of people in St. Louis that are looking for something more authentic. And so definitely working at Chaban was, the last kind of straw in just like realization that, what, I'm thinking of doing isn't maybe the most crazy. It would just take a second to find those people in St. Louis. So that plus the whole pandemic happening basically allowed me to just do something a little bit different and a little bit crazy compared to having a nice cushy general manager job and salary. And so all those combinations together, it was just like, this is the time to do it. And just, you know, I
Yeah.
started doing these sandos, which is basically the main goal is to do this kombini food, which is just high quality, convenient, pre-made food. And konbinis are one thing, but definitely Japanese culture and bento boxes. It's like totally lined up to go in that direction, basically. So
Bento boxes. Yeah. Wow.
yeah, so I just decided to pull the trigger last and the last summer into fall when I really started to make a lot of moves, and now I'm doing it full time, and I'm really enjoying it. It's really fun.
Yeah, so that's interesting to hear from Junior and Carol, who started with the idea in January, and you've had the concept and idea in your head for like 10 years, working in the industry, but it's all different, right? So we're all in a different journey. What about you, Olamide? How did you get started? What motivated you?
Yeah, when I came to St. Louis, um, I kind of see the stores and see most of the food because when I came, I was kind of like my body was different. I feel different, because when I came, everybody was kind of like I look younger, so younger than my age or stuff. But I kind of noticed some changes in my body. I think the food has a lot of preservative that doesn't go well with me because I think I'm didn't used to preservative food. I usually cook my food myself. I eat stuff like so, and I've traveled a lot. I've been to like almost 16, 17 countries. I lived like 7 of them. So, but food right here is different. It really changed my body a lot. So I started doing research about food, and I know we have a lot of healthy food in Nigeria, and I noticed the healthy trend of food also, which I quickly jumped into. And there's this drink we used to drink in Nigeria with hibiscus drink, where we use hibiscus to make this beverage. So I put innovation, with this beverage. I did my own research, my innovation. So I make it's really different from what we drink in Nigeria, but uh, it's more advanced, I can say. So that's why I started Wakava. So just due to the lot of preservative in food and the healthy trend, stuff like that. And I really love food. I love the food business. I'm a entrepreneur from heart, so it's already in me. So I can quickly create something. So yeah, that's how I started Wakava.
Great, great. I know we have statistics that says like immigrants are way more likely to start a business. So yeah, it's good to see that that is true. And I'm going to put this on the chat, Wakava, and I think oh, it's not linking right away, but you can copy and paste this in your URL, section, and you can find Wakava, Izumi, and El Papi Churro. So I don't want you to miss out on the next pop-up or anything like that. So we have already kind of touched on it because you know, as you talked about how you started the business, it kind of came up. But how does your food business connect you with your heritage, you know, with your immigrant, you know, or your parents' immigrant story, things like that, Carol?
Well, with the immigrant story, I would say my parents, like looking, you know, coming from Peru, right before I was born, you know, they came here with limitless, they're in their minds, you know, limitless possibilities. You know, they come here to have to do whatever that they can, you know, like everything, all, you know, all the possibilities are on the table. And as both of them had businesses all growing up, they sold things from around the world, they hustled, you know, I got to experience that more as the youngest child, going along with them to all the events and the flea markets, and then when they had their own store, and then watching my dad have his own pest control company, and I got to see it all. So I was very influenced by them, just having that open mind of possibilities, you know. And so that's the way I approached it. I always, and then I worked in corporate America and things, but I always knew this isn't for me. I have to have my own business, you know. And that's when I started my photography business. But you know, I also wanted to do something with my husband, so it was all, you know, just like my parents.
Right.
So I think I kind of followed their example.
Carol, I know you have a daughter, or at least one daughter.
Yes, I have
Who's a photographer as well. Is
Yep.
she involved in the business too? Does she take any photos of you too? And
Well, she did for our first event. Yeah,
Yeah.
she did we kind of had a trial at home, like an event where we invited friends and family, and she did. And they were very helpful, actually, her photos. Having good food photography is super important, and just photography in general for social media and things, you know. So, yes, but otherwise, she's, you know, going to college and she's on her own now. So she hasn't really been otherwise involved in the business except for eating them. Except
She
for
loves eating
she
them.
comes and she does the, you know, the taste testing and tells me, you know, what this
Yeah.
can use, what I can add.
as long as you call it taste testing, it's not just eating. It's
Exactly. She's actually
business.
coming over here soon to try some.
Right. She may even require to get paid soon. So
Yeah, and she will actually be helping at some events when she can, but she's got a job too. So, you know, as she can, she'll be helping. I think she's helping out on the next
She
pop-up.
is, yeah.
great. That's great. And Kurt, you said your dad is Japanese?
My mom.
Your mom.
My mom.
Okay. Is
Yeah.
she involved in the business at all?
She definitely taste tests everything for sure. And like, you know, in terms of you know, I do like some like kind of this rough translating of some words into Japanese characters. And so, you know, it's I barely know Japanese, but she's very fluent. So a lot of it too is I basically want to resonate with someone that is Japanese, not just Japanese people, but if someone is Japanese and they look at this sandwich, or you know, the packaging or any of the labeling that I put on there, I want them to look at that and be like, oh, that's actually like that's Japanese. They care about really coming off in a very authentic way. That said, I still want to appeal to everybody in St. Louis
Right.
and kind of have this, you know, good connection to where, you know, as long as I resonate with, you know, those folks that are Japanese, which isn't my core target market, that, you know, when I do introduce this, you know, Japanese product in this, you know, kind of Japanese little lesson about something, that'll resonate with people in a true, authentic way. It's the biggest thing.
Thanks.
Yeah, great. And Olamide, what about you? How do you feel very connected to your Nigerian root? And by the way, what brought you to St. Louis?
So I think St. Louis is kind of like a place where I've been want to come because I have friends they're from St. Louis, so we've been talking and stuff like that. So that's how I end up coming to St. Louis. So and also I'm married to a, a woman from St. Louis, and yeah, it's a good place, and I connect with a lot of people. So coming to St. Louis, I connect with a lot of programs, a lot of people, and it's been helpful for me during my transition. You know, also, yeah, what you asking?
What am I
The question.
asking?
Yeah,
how
yeah, the
how do
question.
you feel connected to your, heritage,
My heritage, yeah, yeah. So for me, I've been everywhere I go. I'm always me. I'm always this guy from Nigeria. And my tribe, I'm a Yoruba tribe, which we're very proud of our tribe. And that's why my business also really connected to uh, Africa. All what I'm doing is just to innovate African food, uh, help the African farmers in true way, like really help, because that's where I come from. It's not like saying like, oh, we're helping African farmers. No, this is my people. This is where I come from. So I'm trying to like, because we have a lot of um, healthy food which need to be new, like the way Japanese food, did a lot of great job. Uh, Thai food, a lot of great job in marketing the food to the whole world, which is awesome. But when it comes to African food, we haven't really market our food to the whole world in a very unique way. And so that's where I come in terms of branding, in terms of introducing the food in a way that will be acceptable. I know the food, Chinese food we eat here is different from the one in China. It's kind of like infusion of the food. So this is kind of way I'm trying to innovate African food to the market. And I've seen a lot of trending stuff on TikTok about Nigerian food, and the millennial kind of like, they're very well accepted when it comes. They're accepting the new. They're so bored about the old stuff now. The new stuff, they're accepting it, and the way to try different type of food. So which that's the area I really like tap into to
yeah.
introduce the food mainly to the millennials.
Yeah, that you're on TikTok, huh?
Yeah.
that's that is very I'm impressed. Well, I know for myself, I make the food that I grew up eating, or I feel comfortable, like it's like a comfort food, or I just sometimes really miss the food that can attach my memories to, right? So it
Mhm.
connects you to the memory, the comfort. And now I would always say, well, this is authentic Korean food, but it could also be, I don't know. In Korea, the trends they turn so quickly, and the TikTok trends and all these internet, online, social media trends. I look at it now, and I don't know if I recognize it sometimes, But kind of connecting to my root, definitely food is the biggest. It is the biggest that I can still do, and still. Am I sounding okay? Going
Yeah.
in and out. Okay. So yeah, so anyways,
You're suddenly very quiet.
yeah, I don't know what's happening. It was happening a little bit before too, but I'll see if gets gets okay now. But yeah, I find comfort, in my memories and connecting to my Korean roots, by just continuing to cooking, the food that I grew up eating. Can you hear me? No? Can you not hear me? Huh.
Kind of.
Maybe I'll. Is that better?
We can't hear you now.
Huh.
Um,
Well, let's
So I think I can just pick up while we're waiting for Bomi's sound problem. Maybe let's see if this works. I see her plugging something in.
Is it still nothing?
We can't hear you. Okay, while she continues to work on that, I will just go on with the question. So I love this discussion, and I can say that I've tried the churros deliciosos. I've tried the guacava, really refreshing. I can't wait to try the sandos. I cannot wait. So again, so impressive that you started, each of you. Well, Olamide, I know you started before, but you continue going in the pandemic. So how are you navigating it, or how have you been? You know, the good news is we're starting to come out of it, but just talk about that. And I know, Carol, you guys do the pop-up, and Kurt, you have the truck, and Olamide, I'm not sure where your products are available, but just talk about all of that and doing your business, promoting it, and all of that in, you know, during these weird times that we find ourselves in.
Thanks, Suzanne.
Yeah, I would say for us, Suzanne, like starting doing a pandemic, and what I hope is towards the end of the pandemic, we're in an interesting spot right now, because as we talk about what does next step look like for us, I think that this is where a little bit, because we right before the pandemic, we saw the rise of the food truck, you know, and it seemed like most brick and mortars either left the brick and mortars and went with the food truck, or did a combination of both, so they can be at two places at once. You know, their original spot, their static spot, and then the event, whatever that looks like. For us, we're curious to see how the pandemic has changed and will change the food industry. You know, is it going to stay with the food truck? You know, and in that sense, you know, what resources are out there to help support that trend, and is it going to be a long-term trend, or is it going to be a shift back where people say, as we start to reopen, let's definitely support our brick and mortar places who suffer a lot. I mean, we saw towards the beginning of when things started to close down that food servers, they were out of jobs for months at a time.
We still are.
And still are. And we saw some restaurants who had to get innovative and start selling groceries, you know, just to be able to pay the bill. So we're in a very interesting spot. We're not rushing in by any means, even though it seems like we have, but it just seems like such a good fit. The idea of the fun churro boxes, you know.
Yeah, people are getting out now, you know,
Right.
and they want, I think, they want something fun to try. They want to try new things, you know. We've been stuck in the house for so long, and you know, so I think it's a good time. Hopefully it's not something that, you know, I guess dies, you know, like with time. We want to be able to keep up the momentum. And so we're trying to figure out different ways to keep that going. And that's through like inventing new flavors and trying to just, and also like considering adding new products to the menu as well.
We're just going to bring up the question of, as we add new products, would it make more sense to do a brick and mortar, you know? And then with that, then we get to play with the idea of where's the best location. You know, we want for St. Louis, I think it was Farah that put a comment there that St. Louis is a food city, and I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I do too.
We've been to a lot of cities here in the U.S. We like road tripping, and I have yet to find. And I grew up in New York, so I know what St. Louis could be, but in the Midwest, we haven't found a city like St. Louis, where people embrace, you know, authentic dishes and fusions thereof of those dishes. You know, so we really like that idea a lot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yep. That's great. How about you, Kurt?
Yeah. So the pandemic, I mean, there's a lot of things and factors that has been a result of that pandemic. And one thing that everybody is trying to figure out is, you know, has there been a long-term shift in terms of consumer behavior and expectations? Because, you know, if the pandemic was at, you know, when we first started it, you know, like a 2 month sort of like, oh, we'll just hunker down for 2 months, like that's one thing. We'll get back to normal really quickly in that sort of scenario. But now it's been over a year, and even just going out and different things like that feels kind of odd for a lot of people. So trying to figure out what things have long changed in the long term is really important. And that's what kind of gave me the steam, as just like I have no employees. It's just me doing everything with Izumi. But that actually, having that lean of a system gives me a lot of flexibility, because one of the issues now in terms of, if you're a beautiful full-fledged brick and mortar place, getting that amount of sales volume in terms of hiring on the staff that you need to achieve that sales volume, to pay overhead and all those things, that's out of reach for so many really great restaurants right now. So,
Right.
the fact that I, have this, you know, little tiny fire truck, and I do all my food pre-made, that allows me to, before I go to a pop-up, all my food is pre-made. So it's me, like yesterday I had a pop-up started at 4, and I started cooking at 4 o'clock in the morning. And that basically allows me to, with just one person, one staff member, make all the food in a really nice, it's not really hectic, nice, calm, controlled way, where I could have this sales volume and ensure that all my products are really high quality. And it's this like really interesting, pivot, if you will, to this, pre-made sort of market that you're seeing in a lot of different restaurants and concepts, where they're doing a lot of different things that are being sold in Schnucks or something like that. So where the consumer is and what they expect, like that's one of the biggest things that I think has changed. But what that exactly means, like we're all like really trying to figure that out right now.
Right, right. It's all about staying flexible and nimble. What about you, Alamide? I know you've been, your product has been around for a little bit longer than Kurt and the Laras, but how has the pandemic affected your business, your operations, availability of your product, any of that?
Yeah, like the business was a little bit slow, or a little bit slower during the pandemic, because it's a business that was funded by me, so it's something I started. I didn't have any investors, so I have a little tiny budget to advertise my product. So I really rely on farmers market, to get the word out there. And which during the pandemic, the traffic was kind of a little bit slower, and I can say a little bit it was slow. A lot of people are so scared. People don't come out like that, and there's a lot of rules and regulation, what you can do, what you can't do, and of a beverage like Wakava, it really do well when I did like a taste testing.
Mm-hmm.
When people taste it, they'll be like, wow, oh.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I get a lot of, maybe somebody just tasted it, then you will say like, okay, can I have 4 bottles? Can I have, but without tasting something they haven't maybe had before or drink before. So it's kind of like, okay, let me just have one. I'll try it when I get home and see, then I'll come back. But during when the pandemic is not there, people just kind of a little bit sip. When they zip it, they'll be like, oh, can I have a case of this beverage? I really love it. So that was one of the challenges. And the other challenge was the price of the ingredient that I use for my product, because most of my ingredient comes from, outside, like Nigeria. I get my hibiscus from Nigeria and some other stuff. My spices from India, and many, my ingredient is kind of like a device ingredient whereby I get it from different places. So during the pandemic, the price of everything went up, like I can say 200%. Maybe something I used to buy for like $45 then become $250. So it's crazy. But how I survived the pandemic is I just continue. I know the storm is gonna be over, and I just feel like to keep the business alive, to just keep it going. So it's not like no profit. Even in the pandemic, I do lost a lot of money. So all the money I have saved, I was just using it for the ingredient. Like I said, something you buy, it's something you usually got for 45 or 40, then you not get it for $250, which is crazy. So, but all I'm doing is just to survive. I just want to protect the brand, the business, and still give the people the quality and everything I give. So it's it's really tough, I can say, during the pandemic. So, yeah, but I survived it. Wakava survived it. So, but we're still working on it. We're still doing our best, to get working on new product also, try to get something unique out there. Um, yeah, that's the stage we are right now.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I'm connected to my phone now. So thank you so much, Suzanne, for saving the day. I knew it could maybe happen, but so yeah, thank you so much. So we're going to wrap up a little bit, but I want to make sure where we can find you. I put in the chat where we can find them online, their websites. But Kurt, I know I keep missing out on these condos because they keep selling out. I know you guys have one more coming up soon, and you've been touring, kind of going to immigrant-owned businesses, right, and doing the pop-ups there. Can you talk about it? Talk about that a little bit, and tell us where we can find you next, or on social media. How can we find you?
Yeah, the biggest channel to find updates is Instagram. I'm very reliant on the Instagram marketing, and that's where I get most all of my guests and customers. But I have one more officially scheduled pop-up for this Monday at Global Foods, which is this past series of pop-ups I've been doing has been celebrating different immigrant-owned grocery stores, which is kind of the basis of everything we talked about today. So that'll be this Monday. And then I have pre-orders. They open up basically at 11:45 on the website. And, all my guests have been like very, very savvy. So they all set their alarms and their reminders. So, this week, basically the logistical side for me, basically I add inventory on my website, and I have like 7 different sandwiches, and it just takes a second to add X amount of numbers for sandwiches. And this week was the first week that before I could finish adding inventory, people had already ordered the sandwiches that I had just put up for sale. So people are just like really down and have been so supportive, and it's just really great to see. But on the same side, I hear so many people that want to try out the food that I can't get to. And so just do your best. Future you will thank you if you set an alarm right now for Friday at noon. And just stay tuned to that Instagram, because I'll be changing up, because again, I'm just a one-man show. I'm looking to change up and do a lot of fun new things. So in June, I'm going to be doing more like festivals and different collaborations with folks going forward.
Great. And do you have some available if you just walk up to the?
Yeah. See, people have also gotten privy to that. So, I basically 80% of my sandwiches are pre-ordered, and then 20% I try to have every variety available for walk-ups. And when it starts at 4, yesterday I had one. Most all the sandwiches were gone by about 4:45. So people know to kind of get there early, which just shows kind of the scarcity of supply right now. So
Right.
I really appreciate people showing up, and just visiting the spot is the biggest thing too. That even if I don't have anything, you could still go into the store. They're great establishments, and that's half of the reason why I wanted to have pop-ups at all these different great locations, is to celebrate them as well.
Right. And your food is very Instagrammable. You know, it's beautiful milk bread sandwiches. And
Yes.
between they have like cream, whipped cream and strawberries or tonkatsu, you know, like fried pork, breaded pork with, you know, a little bit of salad and stuff like that. So that's probably doing, you know, a lot of that, you know, a lot of people who are setting the alarm are probably, well, gotta get on it and, you know, post about it. So
Yeah. So
I'll do my best.
Yeah, I'm very grateful, very blessed that, I mean, it's all lining up really well, and I just have really great support from people that are really excited. So I wish everyone could try these sandos, and like that's my main goal over this year, is that I'm gonna just have these pop-ups for, you know, about the next year before I think about next steps of, you know, exactly what I'm gonna do.
Great. I look forward to following you on that journey. And Carolyn Jr., what about you? Where can we find you next? Where is your next pop-up?
For social media, you can always find us on El Papi Churro STL. So, and then we do a lot on Instagram and Facebook as well. So it's the same name for both. As far as dates, the next one we have is May 29th. That'll be at Ferguson Farmers Market from 8 to 12. That's our first time there. And then after that, we have June 6th at World Fest in Maryland Heights.
Which is, by the way, is Churro Day.
Oh, National Churro Day. And then June 11th will be at Jay's International. And that'll be from 4 to 7. But the May 29th one right now for Ferguson Farmers Market, the link is in the bio on Instagram. Or you can just go to our website, elpapichurrostl.com/menu, and you can find it there. And you can put in your pre-orders there as well. We're trying that out. We're still playing around with those with that too, you know, the pre-order and the walk-up thing, you know. So we like the pre-orders, right?
Yeah.
It works well so that we can move a little faster too when people come up and just give their
Right.
name, so we don't have to do a lot of you know, transactions and things. We could just give them their food and go. So yeah, that's where we'll be at next, Ferguson Farmers Market on May 29th.
Yeah, I think the pre-order is really smart, especially when you're operating, you know, one person or two people. You know, you're the only person who's, you know, doing and making the food. So yeah, that's very smart.
Yeah.
And Olamide, can we find you at the farmers market? Or I know you're currently in San Antonio, but where can we find Wakava herbal drinks?
Right now, Wakaba can be found at Golden Grocer.
Golden Grocer.
So I think they have Wakaba in stock. Also, I usually do on my website, but we're doing some updating right now. So that's why I couldn't, the gift card thing, I can't create them right now because we're trying to put more product on the website. And also I will start farmers market, the Tower Grove Farmers Market. I'll start beginning of next month. So I'll start the farmers market so people can get access to Wakaba more. So I'll increase my inventory by next month and I'll be able to supply more. But right now you can 100% find it at Golden Grocer shop, Golden Grocer. All right, I think in Tower Grove area, someone said. Yeah.
It's in the Grove. Yeah, I've not been there yet, but it's on my radar to check out. Okay, great. Yeah, thank you so much. And Kurt, are you at Izumi STL or Izumi St. Louis on social media?
Yes, Izumi ST Lewis is the handle, and that's also the website, izumistlouis.com.
Yeah, I feel like I've been following that on Instagram for forever, but you said you started the business in October, so it couldn't have been that long. But you know, pandemic time is like, it just feels very long. That's great. Thank you so much for, you know, everybody. Thank you so much for sharing your story, you know, telling us how you started, how you're doing, and how you're navigating the pandemic. And thank you for, you know, spending your time with us. And for everybody who has joined, I know it's your lunchtime and you have other fun things to do and lots of distractions with, and we're talking about food and making you hungry. So thank you for joining me and joining all of us. And I know we mentioned that we're going to give away some gift cards. And while I was trying to figure out my my computer problem, I did my wheel of fortune and I came up with 3 winners, Farah, and I found Sandy and Kathy. So I'll send you guys email the congratulations. And again, Carol, Junior, Kurt, Olamide, thank you so much for sharing your time and story with us today.
And I just want to also say that, you know, one of our focus areas is helping entrepreneurs, and we do that by connecting you to resources. So please don't hesitate to reach out to Bomi or I if you have any questions about anything related to brick and mortar, you know, financing, business mentors, anything that you might need. We have a robust database of friends and supporters who are willing to help. So please always remember that that's something that we provide to our entrepreneurs.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Folks.
Thank
Yeah.
you, everyone. Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.